Welcome back to the High Ticket Systems podcast, where we talk about all things client acquisition, scaling, marketing, sales, AI, and everything else in between. Everyone, please welcome the one and only Jennifer Kelly, founder and CEO of New Initiatives Marketing. Jen, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
More than welcome. Jen, for the people at home who may not already know, please give them some background on exactly who you are and what your company, New Initiatives Marketing, really does at its core.
Sure. Yeah. New Initiatives Marketing. I started the company back in 2009, and we have, of course, evolved as the business landscape has changed. We are a B2B marketing company, and we're focused on helping companies in electrical power, oil and gas, industrial manufacturing, and consulting engineering. So really serious B2B, if you think about it that way. And we typically work with established firms that don't yet have marketing support.
Okay. What was it that made you decide that was the market, that was the niche you really saw this working best with?
Well, prior to 2009, I used to be a corporate marketer. I used to be at Siemens. I used to be at Motorola. So I had come from sort of the technology and larger company area. And with B2B, it was an area I was very interested in. And so when I started my own firm, I mean, it was a little bit different. When you start your own company, at least my experience was, I mean, you're really going to get your first, second, third customer. I mean, you're really trying to see if you can actually make it. And then after you get going, you can decide to niche based on what you see the market need, where you see, your team and your areas of expertise doing the best work. And for our team, it was B2B, and it was in those areas that I mentioned. A couple of reasons for that. Typically in those areas, if we stick to, say, the products as opposed to the consulting engineering, which is more services, there is some fantastic products being invented that solve, real problems that folks are having within electrical power, within industrial, within manufacturing. However, the main problem those companies seem to have is they'll invent and create something, but kind of forget to tell people about it, right? So, so they're missing the marketing. They've got this great solution to these real problems, and that's an area we found we could come in and help.
Yeah. And it's a great place to be because, people don't get into that business to be marketing gurus. And usually it's somebody who, like you said, is passionate about those inventions and who really has that valuable product. But because they've been so dedicated, they haven't had any other time to set up these marketing initiatives. And that's the gap, which it sounds like you can essentially plug straight into. But I know you don't have a classic sort of agency philosophy. There's a different way you approach things, whereas more in leveraging what the funnel that already exists. Can you talk the audience through kind of your unique mechanism and how you would actually best help? Let's use that exact example. Somebody who has the product, who has exactly that, but just doesn't have the people who know, or maybe they do, but they're just not, connecting with them properly.
Yeah, I mean, it typically what happens. So we're coming in and working with established companies. So established means you've been in the market for a certain amount of time. I mean, it doesn't have to be 75 years, but I mean, our qualifying, I guess, metric is someone paying money for your product or service, right? We're not in the prototype stage. We're not thinking about it. We're not, we're not startups. We have real presence in the market. The problem that the company would be in is they have a new product to launch, or they're going into a new region, and they're starting to figure out, like, no, either nobody knows us in this new region, or this new product coming in, it doesn't exactly ride on the coattails of the other one. So, I mean, we can only talk about speeds and feeds so much. We can only discount so much. Like, how are we gonna make a splash out there? The other problem can be that the established company is really sick and tired of being the best kept secret. right? Maybe a competitor is getting all the news or all the fanfare. And so the thing is that that company obviously is producing sales. It's just not producing them at the level that they want to, or they see a whole new market where their product would solve problems that that market does have. And so we'll come in and we'll look at what's going on already. Obviously, they're established and they got to a place where they've got to by doing many things right. Right, we're just here to help them go further. One of the most common things we see is when their leads come in. Um, the first touch is great, and then they're almost forgotten about. And this happens a lot in companies where the desire for new leads always coming in is really important. And I don't disagree with that, but not at the expense of the leads that you already have, forgetting to nurture them, or, them falling through the cracks.
Right.
Particularly in the areas that we work in, which is it's not an emotional sale. It takes, months, weeks or months to make the sale. And there's several people involved in signing off on it. So it's a slower burn, and it requires that follow up that is often, forgotten about or falling through the cracks.
Yeah. And that's it. It's not sexy. It's not fancy. It's not, a shiny
No,
object, is it?
it's not.
It's, you know,
No,
and
I
it's
mean,
totally
it's not.
understandable
No,
because
you're right.
we've been there, and it's you want just the new, most qualified, best leads, but you forget what's already on your plate. And
Yeah.
that goes to the wayside when you focus on naturally, getting more business. But what is typically the untapped potential that you see? Like, how can you give us an example of roughly like how that pipeline looks and how you would re-engage and really leverage what's already there rather than focusing on the new?
Yeah. Well, we'll have to go in and see what's happening. And I guess there's two ways to approach this. All of your marketing listeners will probably be like, "What software are you using? What CRM?
Yeah.
What tech stack?" But it really comes from the mindset of how are we as a company going to address the leads or the prospects that we have in the funnel. So it really has to either come from the top or come from your sales VP about how are we addressing this. And that's probably the most important thing that we're going to discover when we come in and work with a company. Um, Oftentimes, what happens is the salespeople are under pressure to bring in more leads or to close the deals that are just about to be closed. So, understandably, they're not going to be focusing on, what have we got there sort of on the back burner, that kind of thing. So, we're going to come in and see the lay of the land on that. But in one case, what we found was just simply because of the lack of follow up and moving these leads along, there was over $20 million stuck in the pipeline. And you have to think about that compared to the brand new leads that are coming in today, just finding out about your company, deciding to speak with you, compared to folks that have, halfway through a proposal, 3, 4 meetings in, they're starting to trust you and starting to really evaluate, yeah, we're going to become a client. So to ignore those, like I said, it was over $20 million in this pipeline. So that can be the risk if you're ignoring those prospects.
It's incredible, isn't it? And especially with the longer sales cycle that naturally a lot of these industries are in, because as you said, it's not an emotional sale. It's I'm sure a very logical sale, and there's time that comes with that. So when you typically look at re-engaging those leads, is there a spectrum that you see? Obviously, there's leads at the start of the nurture sequence versus in the middle versus toward the end. In that example, in that believe it was $22 million of stuck pipeline, exactly where were most of those leads that ended up converting when you first came in?
Those leads were stuck between so a few meetings in. You have to think. Okay, so in this kind of example, the sales cycle will be anywhere between 6 to 18 months. And like you said, I mean, it's not sexy, it's not emotional, but what it really is you have to make sure that these products are going to work well with the IT system. The products are going to get where the finance signs off on it, and everything's going to happen really well. You got to think too, health and safety matters a lot as well. now, when, we're working in oil and gas, electrical power, real lives could be at stake. So that is another reason for the long sales cycle. It's just the
Mm.
amount of people that have to come in and, say yes and do their due diligence. So in this case, it was sort of mid to end of the funnel, meaning that they had been at least 2 meetings in, and some of them had proposals out to them that just hadn't been followed up on. So we're talking really lucrative, um, uh, opportunities here. And when you talk about re-engaging, if you think about, it's not the kind of thing that we can, just say, buy one, get one free, come on back like
Hey.
that. That kind of thing, like that works so
Yeah.
well in consumer, right? But the same kind of process does work, a win back. And it just took a little bit longer because we couldn't blanket it with the buy one, get one free kind of thing. We
Yeah.
just really had to see where are they in the cycle? Who's the salesperson assigned? Here's some ways we can, suggest you re-engage. And
Mm.
in our line of work, we really do have to engage and partner with the salesperson because that's the person that's leading this event all the way through the funnel and has to know a lot about the customer. And of course, doesn't want marketing coming in messing anything up. So we have to be sure that our messaging and where we're coming in to give the re-engagement really works with how they want to try and close the deal.
Yeah, totally. Because that's the relationship, right? And relationships, as we know, are very sensitive, and it's critical to keep things consistent. But in regards to, like, oftentimes you see sales teams reaching back out to leads, and it's a generic, "Hey, just checking in. Hope you've been well." That kind of approach. What and Please, you don't need to give away all the secret sauce, but what typically strategically, that strategic messaging, are there a couple of examples that kind of reignite their pain, restate the problem? Like, how exactly are you positioning the majority of the messaging without it sounding too generic?
Without the hey, just checking in kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yes, no, absolutely, absolutely. Well, a lot of the work that we do, it's driven largely by a budget cycle as well, because these products are, I joked about the buy one, get one. It's not the kind of thing that's $100. These are several thousand to maybe several $100,000 or $1 million sales. So that has a real impact on what the company's budget cycle is. And so things could be stalled due to a budget cycle. So, and that's why it's really important to investigate what was happening with the lead up until when it stalled, because that'll give you clues on how to, instead of just checking in, it's really, we can talk about the budget cycle. We can talk about your concerns with, ABC expansion. How did that go? This would be the perfect opportunity to talk again. And it's the kind of thing too, when you're selling just this kind of complex equipment and solutions, being, kind of flippant in your communications, it just does you a disservice, because it's like, if you're flippant in the communications, are you going to be flippant when you come to install this thing? Like, I mean, you can be human and warm, but there is a certain level of, sophistication and seriousness that really has to come through in the messaging as well.
Right? Professionalism and confidence that's going to be transitioned over and expected throughout the whole experience. And in regards to how that process actually looks when you come in, when the team comes in, can you give the audience some context on the scale of your operation? Because I can imagine it's quite a volume intense process where there are all of these leads still on the table, but you're then strategizing how to reach out to each one and how to re-engage that pipeline. What does a team look like behind you? How does that process usually look in the eyes of your operations?
Okay, well, generally our team is it's made up. If you can imagine I guess a similar setup to a construction company. So you have your general contractor, and then once they win the deal, they're bringing in electrical, plumbing, the whole bit. So that's what New Initiatives Marketing is set up to do. So
Mm.
once we win a client and we go in and work with them on the marketing strategy, we have fractional chief marketing officers that come in and get assigned to certain projects. They're responsible for developing the marketing strategy. Once the marketing strategy is developed, one of the things we promise our clients is nothing like so. Everything in that strategy will be something we can help you execute. We're never going to suggest something and say, good luck getting that done. We don't do that here. So that's one of our promises. And then based on the strategy, that's when we'll be pulling in who is actually going to execute.
Yeah.
Sometimes the fractional CMO stays on to oversee everything that they've created in the strategy. Other time we have fractional CMOs that are strategy only. They want to be on to the next strategic thing. So we'll bring in a marketing lead to make sure that everything is being implemented. And in the case of say these leads, we would bring in someone that has that kind of experience. So a mix of copywriting and understanding sales, and then understanding the marketing strategy. And it's really very important that the sales aspect or the sales understanding is there, because you can see marketing can go off on its own and create these wonderful exactly. And I was we had a situation where there was a suggestion to do some kind of lead follow up within 6 weeks, once a week we'll send out a message and away we go. But when you looked at what the team was selling, it was like an 18-month sales cycle. So what are we going to do? Remind them of us the first 6 weeks, and then when they're really making a decision, they forget about us. So that's what I mean about marketing and sales working together. So marketing really has to understand, okay, if this is an 18-month sales cycle, how many touch points, what kind of cadence, what's really going on during that time, and how can we, keep our company top of mind in
Yeah.
order to hopefully win the deal.
Right. And it really is one force that needs to be, symbiotic together to be able to operate at the efficient and aligned level. Because one small deviation in whether it's marketing's trajectory or sales is like that you change the angle of a plane that's taking off by just 1 degree. But then as you said, 6, 12, 18 months, you're in a completely different place, and there's discrepancies between what somebody thought they were getting into, how the sales team is communicating, and the consequences can be huge, not only internally, but for the obviously client experience themselves. In regards to when you're onboarding a new client, obviously that's going to demand a certain amount of capacity from your team, depending on the size and the amount of initiatives that you have to take in place. I can imagine there's lots of different variables. Do you typically have a pool of talent that you're always engaging? How often are you reaching out to new talent? And what does that process look like to actually get them in the position to be able to hit the ground running when you have the green light?
Yeah. Well, that's, so we do have, if we call them, I don't like to call them contractors, because contractors could give the example that they're, just waiting for another full-time job to come along. These are
Right.
actual other small businesses that we pull into the
Mm,
deal. So for example, if the company needs, or if the client needs a website, we're pulling in from our web design, companies that we work with, same with designers, that kind of thing. So just
mm,
think every time I say contractor, think other small business we're pulling in. So we do have 6 that we have worked with for a long time. Some of them we've worked with for over 10 years. You asked about how we make sure there's new talent always coming in, because we, as new initiatives in marketing, are a client of those companies. So we have to make sure as well that they're always taking our call. They always have room for us, not working on other people's, work and can't handle us. So
mm.
I'm always interviewing, always looking for new companies, and we typically start with a call like this, and then if it seems to be a good fit, we'll do a paid test project. So this will be a real project on a real client or on our company, so we can really see what it's like to work together. So we'll have real deadlines, like I said, real money. It'll be a real thing, and then from there, both of us get to see what it's like to work together. And if that's a good thing from both sides, then we're able to confidently put them on a project. So that's ongoing for me. That's part of my work that's always ongoing, because there's different clients that come in with different needs, different people. Some people like working on electrical power. Some people don't want to touch oil and gas. So we have to accommodate for that. And
Mm.
it's just really making sure that we have a good bench of folks to pull from.
Right. A good network, a relationship, and people you can trust. And I think it's so key about actually having a, even though it's a relationship, even though you might feel confident in that company, vet them, trial, like have that built into the process, because you know how easy it is in today's day and age with AI. Anybody can say, anybody convince you they're brilliant at anything, and it is really so easy for people to try and bridge that gap between where their capabilities really are and where they need them to be to receive your business. So trial and error, it's old school, but it's old school because it works, right?
It's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
On AI, am curious because you obviously started this business roughly 2009. That's 17 years ago. How much have you seen the technology advance in, I guess we could go one or two ways with this, either in the clients you work with, their businesses. I know that it's obviously bricks and mortar, quite a lot of your industry is angled toward that way. But in your business or in their business, how have you seen that technology come in and influence the market, how you do things?
Well, it's been huge for sure. I mean, in 2009, so if I could talk about technology, but also what has influenced us and our clients has been what's going on in the market as well. So in 2009, there was a huge financial crisis, and a lot of people were very scared about moving forward in business. A lot of people had lost their jobs. I was laid off. That's how I ended up starting this company. So a lot of uncertainty, and anytime there's uncertainty, people typically don't want to spend money, don't want to take the risk, on a new company, new vendor, that kind of thing. So back then, it was very much just starting to be, I guess, marketing or the services or what was possible for a corporate marketing department was just starting to be a little bit more, I guess, spread out. When I first started in marketing, I mean, you could have basically almost everything in house because, I mean, you didn't have to worry about the internet. You were worried about, okay, TV and radio and maybe the odd fax, fax promo for those that remember that. But as, the channels expanded, you can't have a 500-person marketing team. And so I really found that there was the opportunity to come in and do more in order to help in-house teams. The next big thing that really happened within technology during that time, it started to creep in about social media. Now, I know that came in earlier than 2009, but the fact that businesses were being encouraged to take it seriously, that yes, you did need a Facebook page for your B2B business. Like, yes, you as a CEO better get on LinkedIn and share your thoughts. That was quite transformative then, and there was a huge amount of resistance from the type of companies that we work with, for sure. And then through COVID, that was another major one for us. We had been virtual since day one. So when I started, it was just me. And the reason why I started virtual is I had worked on global teams in Siemens, and I was very used to, okay, we're on like conference call, we're on email. That's the only way, I'm working with my colleagues. It was very comfortable for me, and I could see how much could actually get done. And so that's how I started this company, with that kind of, I guess, virtual first point of view. And we had quite a lot of resistance to that. That there was quite a few clients that never became clients because they said, "Oh, like, why wouldn't you have everybody in the same office? Like, what's it's a little bit shady, isn't it?" I was like, "It's not shady. It's the way we work." And after COVID, of all the things that COVID did that was negative, that is the one thing that really helped us, because no one questions our business model now. Pulling in different companies to help us with the project, doing the majority of our work online like this, over Zoom calls, over Teams, that kind of thing. Yes, I will fly anywhere to meet a client, and we do, for those. So we work throughout Canada and the US. And, we do go and meet quarterly face to face. I still think that is a time tested way to really kick off and keep a relationship going. But the whole idea of, meeting online and doing a lot of serious business over Zoom, and perhaps never meeting the whole team in person, that was very, very transformative. And then now we've got AI, and AI is, it's in some ways has helped us. In some ways, it's really frustrated us internally. It's moving faster than either, the social media push or the virtual push did. And our clients are a mix of embracing it. Some have said they're going to replace us with it. So we've been told, you know what, we don't need, we're not going to entertain the idea of having a marketing company help us. We'll get, a recent marketing grab. They can use AI. And so we have heard,
See how that goes. See you
yeah,
soon.
I mean, that's the kind of thing. I mean, you can have that, but you need the
Yeah.
expertise as well. So,
Yeah.
so I guess in short or in long, we've seen a lot, but nothing has been as fast or as, I guess, confusing as the AI. The AI.
And a lot of those businesses that wouldn't swallow the pill of, the remote workforce and are not open to that kind of talent now, it's interesting that AI is kind of taking a different approach where people feel like that they need this thing to be a part of the growing market and the trajectory that's going to keep them in business. It's a completely different animal to, the virtual landscape. And it's confusing, it's exciting, it's moving at 1,000 miles an hour. And, and yet, so one of the things we still leverage as a business is still the power of relationships, still getting in front of people, still building just genuine trust and connection. Because in today's day and age, it's so refreshing to have that when everything is, if it's not a LinkedIn video, everything's probably created by AI. That there's a lot um, that is flooding the market, and it's so important to still keep that human connection. And that brings me, Jen, obviously client acquisition, I mentioned, is a big part of what we love to talk about on this show. And our audience is always really curious to understand what's working right now, whether it's, certain outreach techniques, whether it is AI, whether it's truly there yet. How have you guys been finding the most success in bringing on new business, meeting clients, and what does that look like?
What does that look like? Okay, so if we go back to the old-fashioned things, I mean, referrals are always wonderful. The bad things about referrals is you can never know when they're coming in, right? But in order to make sure that the referrals can come in or the right people are getting referred, just it's up to me or to our team to really articulate sort of some of the pain that we can help with. If you hear this, call us. If you hear that, we could help. So really helping people be able to refer us is one thing. The next is a mix of myself. I'm the head of business development here, so out at events and conferences. I also host a monthly founders lunch. And so that is an in-person lunch. There is 6 people that are invited to it, different people every month. And we have a meal at a restaurant. It's sponsored by New Initiatives Marketing. Some people around the table could be potential clients. Others are, potential collaborators. With the key being that the people around the table, it's a chance to have 90 minutes of really good conversation. And it really works. The feedback I've had is it really works well because people are like, I can have more than a 20-second conversation with someone. This is great. And the group that's put together is I intentionally do it as much as possible. Like you would never normally meet these people. Come to the lunch. It's worth the time. And that's been the feedback as well. In this age of AI and social and everything, it's really nice to be able to meet the people and then you can take it online and do your thing. So we've got the founders lunch, we've got referrals, we've got me going out to conferences and networking events. We do get some through LinkedIn and through the website. And we are experimenting with some AI outreach. I'm happy to drop the name. We have done several trials with other companies, and it's been underwhelming, let's say. But this most recent one is Bordy AI. So,
Haven't
and
heard
it's
of that
been,
one.
we've been with them about, I guess, 3 weeks now. I know it's very
Mm,
early days, but it has been introductions that, of course, it's up to you, right? You got to take it to the sale, but the introductions have been high quality. And it's been in the right area with the right context. So so far the 3-week experiment is going well.
Great signs. And I know you mentioned that we've seen this time and time again, and a lot of our guests, clients we have been through this experience too. Underwhelmingness when it comes to AI. You know, you get promised such a cutting edge technology, such an approach. I guess with the experience you've just had, what do you feel like the previous businesses, experiences, processes didn't have that this one is now displaying more of?
You know, it feels like either the sophistication of the team behind it. That's it feels like everything that so let me just tell you a little bit about how
Yeah,
it works. So you
sure.
essentially talk to this boardy. It's a male Australian voice, and he's so friendly, so I'll call him a him, right? He's finding out about your business, and you just tell it all what you need. And then through email introductions and through LinkedIn, he, suggests you meet with certain people. Once you say yes, it starts the introduction. What has been missing with the other ones? Other ones have always, at least the ones that have contacted me, it feels like a little bit of a bait and switch. And I have to tell you, so probably like many people, you get your inbox filled with people saying, we can do AI outreach for you every single day, that kind of thing. The few that have gotten through and gotten my attention was because that email was written so well and so particular to me and to our company that I thought, okay, these guys have got this down. And in having a first conversation with any of these companies, compliment them on that. Okay, if you can do that for our prospects, like this will be great. And then it just seems to kind of fall down. And it could fall down it seems like it's either the real understanding of our business, not taking the time to get the copywriting right. And then it just feels like the idea being, you know what, we're just gonna, email 10,000 people and someone in there is gonna be a fit for you. And it just, I guess the promise just falls down in the execution. And that's what's
Yeah.
been so disappointing.
The execution of it. I wonder how much that's linked to obviously AI being such an exciting new space, but the people behind these businesses, what has their background been and how much acumen do they really have? How much awareness about what all of the other pieces around AI that actually need to be in place for this to genuinely work and give the results? And
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean,
yeah,
execution is like it can be really boring, but it's the thing that gets that strategy into
yeah,
action. It's that thing that makes the sale across the finish line.
yeah.
It really is, right? And if it's not running smoothly, then you get this underwhelming experience.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's usually, only combated by experience and trial and error and being, 5, 10 years in that process, realizing, okay, all these things need to be put in the perfect balance for this to make sense. But with companies that are now only, a year, 2 years into the space, it's still a massive learning curve for them just as much as it is for us to be trying to get a hang of AI. It's an interesting age. And speaking about obviously the age we're in and going back to your business, Jen, moving forward, obviously things are, you're bringing in AI, there's new outreach that's happening. What, if anything, over the next 12 months, are you really looking to achieve? Do you have a specific goal in mind? What excites you the most about moving forward?
It excites and I guess is a little bit scary too. I mean, we want to keep in business. We want to keep serving. We see that there's a need in the markets that we serve, how to do it better and more efficiently. The part I'm hesitant about is I know we have to transform a lot of our services and a lot of the ways that we do things internally. And while we're doing okay with it, my concern is I know how to build the systems to get us to where we are today. Do I really just replicate this with AI, or should I be adopting a whole different way to think about how we deliver our services to our clients? And what is that whole different way to think about it? And so that's where I'm hesitant. I'm like, I'm not sure I'm not sure, and I'm looking for some help figuring out like how to think about it first. And it just goes back to the same thing when we were talking about leads. I mean, it doesn't matter what database or CRM you're using, if the idea and the thinking around the company about how much we care about or how urgently we nurture and care about our leads coming through to become a client, then we can put the software around it. So it's the same thing. With our processes and our systems and how, what we have on offer, how do we best think about it to then have AI help us instead of just dragging what we did in 2024 into this new age, which could be could be the wrong way to think about it. So
Yeah.
that's my I guess what I'm excited about and hesitant about, and yeah, not really sure how to tackle that.
Right. It's kind of the same feeling, right? That excitedness, nervousness, uncertaintiness. I think so many people are feeling that right now. And, while we can all be searching for that kind of answer to imagine how things would look in 5 years and how we should best position ourselves for that, I think it's one of those things where we just have no idea. And we just got to look at, what's that first step we can make in front with the information we have right now and attempt to, go with the flow, because who knows? 1 year, 5 year, 10 years. It's exciting. It's nervous. It's nerve wracking. But gosh, if you can position yourself appropriately, I can imagine there's going to be so much opportunity. So I, I I really could talk with you for hours on that, because there's so much that obviously in your business with the clients you serve. I can imagine how up to date, how open do you feel like your clients are in regards to the AI age? How aware are they typically in this industry you serve in particular?
Very aware, very
Yeah.
aware. But on their side of things. So if you think,
Mhm.
they are working on engineering, creating new products in the managed service area, creating new services. So they are
Yes.
well comfortable with technology for sure
Mm.
in their area. How to
Yeah.
market with AI, not really. It's
No.
not their lane, but embracing it to like, how do we prototype faster? How do we solve some problems faster? How do we bring it in to, perhaps help our clients with the software portion of our product? They are, very much into it, very
Yeah.
much embracing it and trying to figure it out for their own clients for sure.
Yeah, I think everyone is, and you got to be, right, because if you're not, you're going to be left behind. And it's one of those things where we've had so many AI experts come onto this show and lecture us about obviously the power of AI, but at the end of those conversations, we always find that it's always the same message. It's AI is not here to replace us; it's here to enhance what we're good at and to have that symbiotic relationship. And when you view things that way, that gives me a lot of security, knowing that, as long as you can partner with this beast that is moving 1,000 miles an hour, you're going to be able to leverage it and allow it to leverage you. So whatever area it falls into, I see it being that similar kind of story. But Jen, I really do wish we had more time. Again, I could talk to you for hours on this. Where can people find you if they want to learn more about what you do and kind of connect with everything you have going on?
Oh, well, that's great. Thank you. The company is New Initiatives Marketing. So I think there'll be a link in your notes. That is our website. And me out on LinkedIn is Jennifer Kelly. There's only probably 500 million of us. But with that and fractional
Yeah.
CMO and New Initiatives Marketing, happy to connect or answer any questions you have.
Amazing. Jen, thank you so much. Audience, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, take care.